I'm basically going to be doing something a bit different here today. Basically, I'm going to be reading one of the fan fictions that I've made. Yeah, basically, before YouTube, I used to write a lot of fan fiction. Like, once YouTube signed, I ended up taking a big break from writing fan fictions, but I figured I may as well do this in order to incorporate some of my fan fictions into into my videos, and at the same time actually have a good reason to continue doing my fan fiction writing. Alright, so the very first thing that I ended up writing in there was that I actually got this idea from another fan fiction I read by the name of Will of Fire by Roy D. Harper. I would probably borrow some of the ideas used in the story, but I will also be putting my own ideas in it to make it original. I'm pointing this out now so no one will try to call me out and say I copied. On to the story. Two kids, one with ash blonde spiky hair and red eyes. The other, they had curly hair with the colors red, green, and blonde faded in. Their eye color was cyan, with one having a green ring around the right iris. Both of them, at the time, were 4 years of age. They were considered the best of friends up until they reached 4. At that time, Bakugo, the ash blonde, manifested his quirk. He was the first to manifest his quirk out of their whole class. He was able to sweat a nitroglycerin-like substance and ignite them at will to create explosions from the palms of his hands. Everyone found his quirk to be spectacular and would constantly praise him for whatever he did. He was considered the best. Then there was Izuku Midoriya. He had yet to manifest his quirk. This caused a rift in his relationship with Bakugo. While Katsuki was put on a pedestal, Izuku was looked down upon. Hey look, Izuku, your name can also be read as Deku, which means useless, Katsuki said one day. Wow, Katsuki, you can read? That's so cool. Oh my gosh. One of the kids that followed him around praised. Of course I can read. After all, I'm smarter than the rest of you idiots, Katsuki criticized. That's not nice, Kachan, Izuku claimed. Katsuki looked at Izuku with a death glare that made the smaller boy shake in fear. Who said anything about being nice? Besides, nobody cares about your opinion. You still have a manifested quirk and therefore you're useless. As of today, you shall be dubbed Deku. Quirkless people have no say in what I do. After that day, everyone started calling Izuku by that nickname. It hurt, but Izuku still tried to keep a smile on his face. It was a fake smile, though. He would also get beat up by the other kids from time to time. He couldn't defend himself against those with quirks, so he would end up coming home with his clothes and tatters. Whenever his mother asked what happened, he would respond by saying he was clumsy and hurt himself at school. Inko Midoriya knew better than to believe that lie, though. She could tell that there was something else going on, but she couldn't simply say that Izuku was getting bullied without him telling her. The teachers were of no help because they would say that the kids were only playing when asked about Izuku's condition. She didn't believe what they said, but she couldn't barge into her child's life based on speculation. Even if the evidence was there, until she could see it in action, she couldn't say he was being bullied. Even if she did go out to say her son was being bullied, she didn't know by who. She had a feeling that it was the Katsuki kid, but he was Mitsuki's kid. She had to have proof that it was Katsuki Bakugo to say anything. The burn marks were an indication, but Izuku mentioned before that there were other kids in this class with fire-related quirks. Then something happened. Kachan, stop this now! Oh my gosh, that was so cringy. Izuku cried. Oh yeah? And what are you going to do about it? Katsuki and the ones who followed him around daily were ganging up on one of the children from their school. When Izuku saw the child on the ground crying while the group surrounded them, Izuku couldn't stand around and watch. That was why he intervened, although he knew he had no chance against the group. He was quivering. He was quivering in his boots when Katsuki talked down to him, but he still held his ground. Uh, I'll never forgive you, Izuku roared. This caught Katsuki off guard for a second, but he quickly resumed to his role of dominance. Boys, let's get him, Katsuki commanded. All three boys jumped to Izuku and began to beat him up, although they they were more vicious to the young Midoriya than usual today. They Katsuki especially. Izuku was crying while in the midst of this onslaught of attacks coming from the trio. There was something else that stood out today than other days. Izuku's eyes began to glow orange while Katsuki was hitting him with his explosions. Rather than the explosions burning Izuku, they were being absorbed with no physical damage that would be the result of Katsuki's explosions. Izuku had a black eye, bleeding, and was reaching close to unconsciousness until a small explosion compared to others, but big and powerful enough to send all three boys attacking Midoriya flying suddenly happened. Midoriya was breathing heavily as he got up onto his wobbly legs. He felt like he was about to faint, but he could feel that his body temperature was rising. He took a look at his hands and saw small flickers of flames appear. Did I? Before he could finish his sentence, he fainted. The boy that Izuku was protecting saw what happened from afar and told the teachers what happened. Izuku was quickly taken to the hospital by an ambulance after one of the teachers dialed 119. Not 911, 119. It's actually a number in Japan. I looked it up. And reported what happened. Izuku's mother was also informed of what happened. Usually the teachers wouldn't care what happened to Izuku, but when they heard about his condition and the fact that it seemed like Izuku may have manifested a quake, they actually did something for once. Katsuki and his lackeys were suspended for what happened. They wouldn't have been suspended if it weren't for the fact that this caught the neighborhood's attention. Parents were demanding that the trio be suspended at the very least after hearing what happened. The word of what happened with Izuku that day spread like wildfire, and the school's reputation was lowered because of it. Izuku's teachers were fired for their lack of concern up until Izuku was put into a comatose state by Katsuki and his goons. When Inko heard about this, she blamed herself for this. Same for Mitsuki. Both felt that they failed as mothers. Now the two were at the hospital checking on Izuku's condition. Inko, I'm really sorry for what happened to Izuku, Mitsuki said. Inko looked at Mitsuki with tear-filled eyes before sighing. It's not your fault. It's not your fault, Mitsuki. Or Mitsuki. You had no idea that Katsuki was acting that way towards Izuku. As for me now, I saw the signs for a while now, but I chose not to act upon it. No, this is my fault. If I had seen the signs, then I could have put a stop to it before it got out of control. And Mitsuki gestured towards Izuku, who was in a hospital bed, wrapped in bandages, right after the doctor walked in the room with his board and pen. "Miss Midoriya?" the doctor asked, pointing to Mitsuki. She shook her head and pointed to Inko. "Well, your son is currently in a coma, but he isn't in a life-threatening state. Now, some home remedies would have been fine for your son if it was simply thought he was attacked by the other kids at the school. But because of the fact he awakened his quirk when his body was in such a poor condition, it was very taxing to his body." Right? What are you trying to say, Doctor? Inko questioned. What I'm trying to say is that Izuku needs surgery. With the surgery, your precious Izuku will be back to tip-top shape, although it would be best to keep him home for a few months after the surgery to properly heal. Now the problem is, oh my goodness. Now the problem is, the doctor showed the bill for the surgery. That's outrageous, Mitsuki yelled. I've never seen so many zeros in my life, Inko whispered. How do you think we're supposed to pay the bill? How do you expect us to pay this bill? Mitsuki hollered. Look, I'm not the one who makes the bills here. Now, I'm asking you an important question, Miss Midoriya. Of course she can't. We're middle-class citizens barely making ends meet. Mitsuki screamed at the doctor while getting up. Well then, I'm sorry, but the boy's chances of living are slim. Didn't you say he wasn't in a life-threatening state? Inko pointed out. Yes, I did. For now, that is. If he continues to stay in the state he is in now, he will most likely die. I can pay for it. Just let me make a quick phone call first. Inko said. Do whatever you have to do, the doctor encouraged. Inko, you're not really thinking of calling him, are you? Mitsuki whispered. I have to. Inside of that, or Izuku dies, and I can't lose my one and only son. Inko responded. I can't believe this is happening. Right when I thought we were done with this guy too, Mitsuki yelled in frustration. Inko dialed in a phone number and waited for them to answer. Hello? A voice asked. Angie, it's me. I need your help. And yeah, this is basically it for right now. Like, I have a pretty decent amount of chapters for it. I don't have much else to say. Just remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm trying to reach like 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're like at 858. So we need like around 142 more subscribers. And so just share these videos to your friends and all of that. And like leave a comment for like the YouTube algorithm so that it will promote my videos more. I've had like a couple of people actually get into contact with me saying like, hey, I actually watch your videos. I feel like real nice hearing that. I'm like, dang. Oh yeah, also if you want to read more of my fan fictions, like my Wattpad and fanfiction accounts are known by this term, Bionic Titan X. I will leave the link to them in the description. If you want to like just skip ahead. Like I'm not really stopping you. Either way, it's still going to promote myself. It don't really matter. I don't have much else to say. King Titan X out.